Hi everyone, it's Mr. Ducrane, and I wanted to talk about identifying limits from a graph. So far we've talked about limits of a sequence, but now we want to expand that to talk about limits of functions where the domain includes all the real numbers, not just the whole numbers. So let's take a look at this particular graph. We'll call this one y equals f of x, and we'll look at some limits on there. A couple of important things to point out. First of all, f of -2 rather is equal to 6, because there's an open circle down here and a closed circle up there, so we got to go with that one. We also know that f of, where are we? F of 4 is equal to, again, we have an open circle and a closed circle, so that's equal to -4. And we can see that f of 8 from this graph, because of this asymptote, there's no way to fill in the asymptote, that is undefined. So let's talk about some limits on here. First of all, the limit as x goes to infinity on f of x is, because that arrow there is going up and up and up as x gets bigger and bigger, we say that's going to be infinity. The limit as x goes to negative infinity on f of x, since this arrow here seems to be leveling off, it looks like we can assume an asymptote there. So we'll say that's going to be -5, since the y value is staying at -5. We can do a few others. The limit as x goes to 0 on f of x. Well, let's see. We're really talking about what happens as the x values get closer and closer to 0, and we're zooming in on that point. So that's going to be -2. But if we want to talk about the limit as x goes to -2 on f of x, here again, we're talking about as we get closer and closer to the x value of -2, we're getting closer and closer to this open circle. So even though the value of the function is 6, the limit as x gets close to -2, that's going to be -1, because that's where the y values are going from both sides. Now, if we want to talk about the limit at 4, we've got a little bit more work to do. We can talk about the limit as x goes to 4 from the right. That little plus sign up there on the 4 means from the right on f of x. And if we come from the right, we're getting closer and closer to the y value of that open circle, which is 6. But if we do the limit as x goes to 4 from the left, we would use a little minus sign to say from the left on f of x. So we're going to get closer and closer to 4 from the left side, which means we're coming in that way and getting to that point, and that has a y value of -4. So the left limit and the right limit have two different values. Since those have two different values, we say that the limit as x goes to 4 on f of x does not exist, because it goes to two different places. Finally, let's talk about the limit as x goes to 8. The limit as x goes to 8 on f of x, since both the left side and the right side are headed downward, then we say that that limit is -infinity. So that's how to read limits from a graph.